petal sleeves.
Hello guys, you're welcome back once again on my channel. So today we'll be learning how to cut a petal sleeves. That is today for today, a petal sleeve or a tulip sleeve. All right. So without wasting much of our time, let's dive into the tutorial. So as you can see here, I have this my pattern paper. I'll be working with the pattern paper first. We're going to be creating our basic sleeve first. So after creating our basic sleeves, we are going to be using it to create our petal sleeve. All right. So this is this pattern paper I have, and the amount of fabric, the amount of paper I put on fold, the round sleeve measurement divided by two. Okay. So that is it. I have 9 inches here. You measure your round armhole circle where you're going to be attaching the sleeve. So you measure it round, you divide it by two. So now this is what I have. I have 9 inches. So okay, here then on the top part, the sleeve length, I have 14 inches. So I'll be using 14 inches for the sleeve. The actual sleeve length I'll be working on is 9 inches. All right, so plus sewing allowance, which is 1 inch, making 10. Then the extra 4 inches that will make it 14. I'll be using it for my gathers. I'll be using it to gather the upper parts. You can use any number of inches you want. Okay, you can use 5 inches depending on how full you want your gathers to be. So now I'll be using 4 inches. You can use three, you can use two, you can use five, depending on how gathered you want the upper parts. But I'll be using 4 inches. So that is it. So the total length I have is 14 inches. All right. Okay, guys. So now the next thing we're going to do now is to mark out. First of all, I'll be using this upper part here as the from this top part. Now I'm going to measure my 4 inches. Like I said, I'll be using 4 inches for the gathers. So I'll go ahead and measure it and mark it out. So here I have my 4 inches for the gathers. Okay, you can use five, you can use any amount, five, six, two, three, depending on how full you want your gathers. So okay, now so I used my marker to highlight it so that it will be more visible. So after marking these 4 inches, this top part is for the gathers. So here now will serve as our starting point. So from here I'm going to measure my sleeve length. Okay, my sleeve length plus the allowance, which is 10 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark it out. So here I have my 10 inches. So now this is my sleeve length plus allowance. Okay, so after that, the next thing is to determine my cap height. So I'll be using 4 inches cap height. So from here you can use three, you can use, so here I'll be using my 4 inches for the cap height here. So this is my cap height. From here, remember here is our starting point because here will be the gathers. So this is my 4 inches. Okay. So now this is my 4 inches for the cap height. So now we are, remember like I said, we'll be drafting our basic sleeves. All right. So you can use your front, your armhole curve to get this curve. All right. Or let's just do the normal. So from here, just the way you draft your basic bodies. So I'm going to measure the midpoint. I have 9, almost 10. So this is the midpoint. So you go ahead and make a curve. We are trying to get a basic sleeve. Okay. All right. So now this is our basic sleeves here. So from here, I'm going to input my sleeve round sleeve measurement. So my round sleeve measurement depend on how wide. Remember, like this particular petal sleeve is not a fitting sleeve, it's more like it's open. It's not supposed to be tight on the arm, okay? So I'm going to be using 14 inches, which is divided by 2. That will give us 7 plus sewing allowance. So I'll be marking 8 inches, okay? So from there, I'll go ahead and connect it to this point here. So I'll go ahead and connect it. Okay, so after that, the next thing now is to connect this gathered part. We are going to connect it here. So go ahead and connect it, or you can use your free hand and make a curve. All right. Okay. So you see, you just connect it. You can use free hand, then you connect it. So this part is for the gathers. So now we are done marking the sleeve. The next thing now is to cut it out. We are not going to be cutting this part. This is just to for you to understand. This is the actual sleeve we need. All right. So you can go if the curve, depending on how you can decide to curve it in. All right. You can use your free hand to do this. So now the next thing is to cut it out. So I'll go ahead and okay guys, so after cutting it, I can see I'm done cutting it out. I'll go ahead and notch this center part. So this is the midpoint. So I'll be notching it. When you open it, this is what our sleeve look like. Okay. So this is what the sleeves look like. So now the next thing we are going to do, we are going to determine the midpoint. So this is the midpoint where I notched here. This is our sleeve midpoint. So after that, now from this midpoint, now I'll be coming down by 8 inches. Okay, so this is optional. This is depending on your preference. You can use 9, depending on how open you want your sleeve to be. All right. So, but I'm going to be using 8. So from here, I have my 8 inches. So from this top part now, go ahead and measure 5 inches or 4 inches, depending on how overlapped you want it to be. Okay, but I'll be using 5 inches. So here I have my 5 inches here. So I'll mark it this way. So after that now, so I'll go ahead and mark 5 inches here as well. Okay. All right. So now from here at this part, at this down part now, I'm going to be measuring 4. You can measure 3 or 4 inches away, okay, depending on how overlapping you want it. So here is my 4 inches. I will measure the same thing here, 4 inches. All right. So now at this point, we are going to be connecting the three dots. We are going to connect them together. Okay. So you can use your rule or your curve rule to connect them together. So I'll be using, first of all, connect from here. You connect it to this point, then you can use your straight ruler then to this point. All right. So now this is it. So you can, the reason why I'm trying to do both sides, so for you to understand. So from here now, I'll still go ahead and connect the 2 points, the 3 points together. We'll be actually cutting one. So this is it. So now if you have another pattern paper, or maybe a light paper, you can trace it out. You can trace them out. Okay. but because you are working with, we'll be using only one part, you understand. So this part is for one sleeve, then this other part too is for the other sleeve, but we are not going to be cutting it. We are going to be cutting only one of the lines, so you can choose which one you want to cut. You can decide to use this part, maybe you want to cut out this part, or you want to cut this part. They are all the same, but if you have a tracing paper, you can trace them, okay, which will be easy for you to cut. But in any way, in any case, it's still the same. So after cutting, always remember to blend here. So whichever part you want to use, so you have to blend it to give it that curve, okay. So I'm going to blend it this way. So you see, you blend it in. So if you are going to be using this part, you also do what? Blend it in. So depending on which part you are you'll be working on, which part you want to cut, so you just have to blend it in and give it a curve. All right, so here it's not supposed to be sharp. Okay, so go ahead and cut it out now. All right. All right, guys, so I'm done cutting it out. So you can see right now, like I said, if you be making the a petal sleeve that will have lining, so you go ahead and cut two piece for the main sleeve, then you cut another piece for your lining. You can use the same fabric for lining, or you can use any lining of your choice. All right, so here I have this as my lining, so I want it to be firm. That is why I went ahead to iron a hard interfacing to it, so that it will make it firm. I iron it on the lining part, so this is going to be my lining, while this two other one is going to be the is going to be for the main sleeve. So this particular one now, like I said, is four. So this four piece is for one sleeve. So if I'm making for both sleeve, it means I'm going to have like this another four as well, making eight. So here I went ahead to cut another sleeve using a different fabric. This is to show you, just in case you want to sew maybe on a chiffon which will not need lining, this is how you go about it, okay. It's not necessary that your petal sleeve must have lining or it must have interfacing. No, depending on the style you are making. If you're making a petal sleeve that is stiff and firm standing, so this is how you go about it, okay. But if it's a normal maybe chiffon fabric, or which doesn't have lining, so you cut it this way. So after cutting it, the next thing you go ahead is just you go ahead and, okay, now let's first work on this one without the lining. So what do? You go ahead and stitch here. So always remember the notch part, like I always said, so don't forget your notch part. So now this is the two sleeve. You place it like this, right side and right side. So after that, the next you are going to do, you are going to, this is the cuff part, this is the armhole cuff part. All right, so now this is the top part. So you are going to be folding right side facing each other, so you place it this way. All right, you are going to pin it down, or you take it straight to your sewing machine and sew. Just trying to show you how you're going to do it. So after joining this part together now, so the next thing you will do is to hem here. If you are working, if you don't want to line in, maybe you're working on a chiffon, so you go ahead and hem the all these parts. You are going to hem it. All right, so this part. So after that now, so I will go ahead and hem it on my sewing machine, okay. So now this other part, this one that has a lining and the interfacing, so what I'm going to do, I'll go ahead and do the same thing I did on this other fabric. So I'm going to be placing it this way, right side facing right side. This is the upper part, this is the notch part, this cuff part is the upper part. All right, so bear that in mind, and this place is the down part. So I'm going to place it like this, right side facing each other, and you're going to pin. So you're going to pin it down. As you're pinning, the way you are pinning is the way you are going to run a stitch on it. Okay, so you pin it. This is the main fabric, the main sleeve. You have pinned it down. So you do the same thing on the lining part. All right, so this is the lining. This is the lining. You place it right side facing right side. You're going to pin it down. All right, so this is how it's going to be. So now let's assume I'm done sewing it now. Okay, so you go ahead and run a stitch. You run a stitch on the lining. You also run a stitch on the main fabric. So now let's assume we are done sewing it now. So this is the outcome. The next thing you are going to do is to place it together like this. After sewing it, you are going to place it like this, right side facing right side, both the main fabric and the lining. All right, so you are going to place it like this. So this is the lining, the down part is the main fabric. All right, so after sewing this part, so you place them together and you sew it all round. From here you're going to run a stitch all round. From here now you run a stitch down. All right, so I'll go to the sewing machine, I'll do that, then I'll come and show us the next step. Okay guys, welcome back. So I'm done sewing it. As you can see, I've turned it inside out with the lining. So this is the lining which is having the interfacing. Okay, so and here is the main fabric. All right, so I've gone ahead to turn them. I've even do top stitching on the lining part. So I top stitch on the lining part. All right, so after that, this is how it looks like. So now the next thing I'm going to do now is I'll go ahead and run a stitch down so that it will be firm. I'll run a stitch to hold the two fabrics together. All right, so let me quickly do that. Okay guys, so now I'm done securing it. You can see they have become one, they don't move around. So I've done securing it. So now the next thing for us to do is to lap our sleeves to form the petal. Right, so how do you do that? So remember, this is the main fabric, this is the main fabric, so this is the my lining. So you flip it over to the lining. So this lining is one facing me. All right, so now this is the lining. So all you need to do is to fold it this way, like you make overlap like this. So remember, here is the notch part, then you also lap the other one and bring the notch part together. Always do it. Okay guys, so like I was saying, so what you need to do, you make it the lining side facing you up. You place it like this, the lining side will be facing up. So you bring one of the sleeve like this, one end, you lap it this way, then you bring the other one and lap it this way, then you place the notch part. Make sure that the two notch points are together. So now this is the two notch points. I've brought them together, so you can see our sleeve petal sleeves is ready. So this is the petal sleeve. So the next thing you're going to do, you're going to pin it down. You see the 2 points notched. So after which you go ahead and pin it down, or you go and run a stitch. So two of them are now together, right? So this is the sleeve. So the next thing for you to do now is to go ahead and after running a stitch, you are going to pleat it. The pleats, remember we add extra inches for pleats. All right, you're going to pleat it. So this is the petal sleeves. All right, so this is how it's going to be. Okay guys, so now I'll go ahead and run the stitch. After we should go ahead and do and pleat it. I'll run a stitch and I'll pleat it and show you guys the finished look. All right, so I'll set this aside. Then the other fabric which we are working on, you can see I folded the down part because I'm not going to be using lining on this. So this is just for illustration purpose. So that is why I use a contrast um thread. I didn't use the matching thread because I want you guys to understand. It's also for illustration purpose. So now I've folded this part, or you can use your bias to turn it, or you can do your overlocking depending on your design you're working on. So after that, what are you going to do next? This wrong side will be facing up. So the next you're going to do exactly what we did on the other sleeve. You bring one end, they are going to overlap it, matching the two notch points together, the two center point, you're going to match it together like this. All right, so you're going to pin exactly what we did. This one is just in case you don't want to line your sleeve, you are just sewing maybe a chiffon sleeve, or you don't want to line it. So this is how you go about it. All right, so this is just it. You can see our petal sleeve is ready. Okay, so now the next you are going to do, you are going to run a stitch as well and do your pleats. Okay, so this is it for it. Okay guys, I'll be right back. Okay guys, so this is the final look of our petal sleeve. As you can see, so pleated the upper part, so it's more like a box. So when you're attaching on your sleeve, so this part will be on the armhole. Okay, so this is the armhole part. You're going to be attaching your sleeve. All right, so this is it. Remember when I was cutting, I came down from the top to 8 inches, depending on how open you want your sleeve. Like I said earlier on, if you have come down maybe 9 inches or 9.5 or 10, you can see that the sleeve opening, this petal opening, will not will be closed a bit like this. It might be closed this way, you understand? So everything depends on how open you want it. So I came down by 8. You can come down by 9 or 10 inches, okay, so that this part will be closed a bit. So this is it for the petal sleeve. At this point, if you have not liked this video yet, please go ahead and like this video, share this video, comment, let me know your opinion in the comment section. Okay, and please, if you have not subscribed, please endeavor to subscribe. Do well to subscribe, so that when you subscribe, please hit notification bell to get notified whenever I upload new videos. So this is it for the other sleeve, you see. So just in case you don't want to line it, this is how you go about it. You can decide to do overlocking, or you can use your bias, or you fold it, whichever way. And if you don't want your sleeve to be this long, everything depends on the length of the sleeve you are working on. You can shorten it. It's not necessary you must use all the measurements I use. So I use those things as a guide. So this is where you attach to your, this is the armhole where you attach to your body, to your the main fabric you're working on. All right guys, so at this point we have come to the end of this tutorial. Okay, please, thank you so much for watching. Bye.